The UN 2030 agenda was announced last September on the cusp of Jubilee 2016. In the past week, 2 additional agreements have come into further force. One was the formal signing of the Paris Agreement on climate change. The other involved signing 17 goals to transform our world. They even brought out the new pretty face of global tyranny, Leonardo DiCaprio, again at the UN, who was granted his coveted Oscar trinket in exchange for selling his soul and being the smooth talker who herds the sheeple into their cages. Additionally, at the beginning of April, the UN launched a campaign, the Oceans Treaty, to take over the world's seas at a single stroke. In a series of conferences, the UN set up a global timeline to designate as much as 30% of international waters as no-go areas. Part of the UN's intention is to determine the economic benefits of marine genetic resources. I wanted to wait before I said more about the 2030 agenda to see what else would flow from it, but my questions have been answered in the past weeks by the announcement of this astonishing Oceans Treaty, the signing of the Paris Accords, and similarly, the signing of the 17 goals. There is really no way to describe the darkness surrounding these initiatives. They are a perfect expression of Jubilee 2016. In fact, much as the 2030 agenda is an extension of the UN Agenda 21, so Jubilee 2016 is an extension of Shemitah and Shemitah trends. In our video Super Shemitah, Elite's Jubilee Your Plan to Crash World Economy by October 2016, I fully predicted the laying of further groundwork for the New World Order. And since we've seen further movement toward World War III, the ongoing destabilization of the Middle East, one of the worst starts ever to equities at the beginning of the year, a further move to a cashless society, and most recently the unprecedented hack of the Panama Papers that has led to a global tax crackdown run by the IMF and G20. Each and every word of describing these 2030 agenda initiatives is based on a lie. Together, they create a kind of spiritual black hole that will swallow up tortured millions and then billions of lives. If those standing behind these documents have their way, each of us will be mutilated by vaccines, poisoned by genetically modified foods, banned from partaking of the bounty of the sea, taxed, surveilled, controlled, and spiritually dehumanized into beastliness. Evil does not do justice to the world that is being prepared for us and our children. The lack of freedom is equivalent to suffocation. George Orwell, an Illuminati insider, knew the plan when he said, "If you want a vision of the future, imagine a boot stamping on a human face forever." Mike Adams, the health ranger, called the 2030 agenda a blueprint for global enslavement. The 17 points, and 17 is a popular UN number, of the 2030 agenda create a totality that is literally beyond enslavement, as slavery may be physical, but the intention here is to enslave mentality as well. Here's just a small taste of the health ranger's translation. Goal 1. End poverty in all forms everywhere. Translation: put everyone on government welfare, food stamps, housing subsidies, and handouts that make them obedient slaves to global government. Never allow people upward mobility to help themselves. Instead, teach mass victimization and obedience to a government that provides monthly allowance money for basic essentials like food and medicine. Label it Ending Poverty. Goal 2. End hunger, achieve food security, and improve nutrition and promote sustainable agriculture. Translation: invade the entire planet with GMOs and Monsanto's patented seeds while increasing the use of deadly herbicides under the false claim of increased output of food crops. Engineer genetically modified plants to boost specific vitamin chemicals while having no idea of the long-term consequences of genetic pollution or cross-species genetic experiments carried out openly in a fragile ecosystem. Goal 3. Ensure healthy lives and promote well-being for all at all ages. Translation: mandate 100+ vaccines for all children and adults at gunpoint, threatening parents with arrest and imprisonment if they refuse to cooperate. Push heavy medication use on children and teens while rolling out screening programs, call mass medication prevention programs, and claim they improve the health of citizens. In aggregate, these 17 points cover every aspect of human existence. Those who would survive this sort of implementation would be no better than beasts in the field. The Paris Accords are equally evil. They build on the single grandiose lie of global warming and propose ways that human existence must be ground down to generate sustainable lifestyles. And here are some of the 17 goals just signed at the UN. They are very similar to the 2030 agenda goals that Ranger Mike translated, but this time you do your own translation, if you can bear to. Sounds great, doesn't it? It's in the how they plan to implement all these great things wherein lies the rub. It'll mean top-down, communist-style central planning of the entire world and lowering everyone to the basis level so we can all be equal. There is some hope, though. Around the world there is an awakening. More and more people are simply not going to go along passively while a handful of elites plan end-of-days genocide and total enslavement. Europe is in turmoil, US politics are imploding, even China is seeing stirrings of significant disobedience. Over it all presides the internet, allowing information about strategies of enslavement to be disseminated at high speeds in ways that are hard to block. In the economic realm, more and more people are awake to the damages done by monopoly central banking and the cyclical nature of monetary manipulation. And there are ways to not only protect yourself somewhat from this ongoing advance of the New World Order, but even to profit from it. Here at the Dollar Vigilante, we're lucky to have the services of one of the foremost Austrian economists and metals and mining analysts in the world, Ed Bugos. Acutely aware of how markets and money interact, Ed has been taking the opportunity to inform readers and viewers of the Dollar Vigilante just how the ongoing breakout of gold and silver is progressing. Ed remembers the 1970s and their resemblance to the second decade of the 2000s. Then, as now, the Fed was trapped by previous rate hike strategies and ongoing, almost uncontrollable money printing. The result was stagflation, asset bubbles, and finally a monumental breakout of mining stocks that turned average investors into millionaires overnight. Ed expects continued stock market meltdowns around the world in 2016, but more importantly, he expects gold and silver melt-ups. Ed's not afraid to act on his insights, and he has realigned his TDV metals portfolio to take advantage of gathering market forces. Here's how he describes it. I've been making the case for a renewed metals bull market. We begin with gold's breakout, and then silver confirmed gold last week with its own breakout. Now the US dollar index is teetering on the neckline of a double top and ready to confirm with a breakdown. The charts are following a bullish metals narrative. Yes. And how has the portfolio itself been doing? Over 1 year, the majors in our TDV portfolio are up only 23%, but the juniors are up an average of 100%, and the explorers in our portfolio are up an average 119% over the year. As the allocation weightings are 40, 45, and 15%, I think we're up close to 80% on a weighted average basis. My nugget trade is up 160% alone, and one option strategy is up 300% in a few weeks. My silver calls are up 50% now, and I've got another series of miners that are up 400% over the year. Dollar Vigilante Premium subscribers are quite happy, as you might imagine. If you want to follow Ed's picks and potentially cash in, just subscribe to our Dollar Vigilante newsletter, which is easily the fastest growing financial newsletter in the world. You'll have immediate access to every issue, including Ed's all-important current portfolio, name by name. You can subscribe at dollarvigilante.com/subscribe. There is a malevolent elite group that has terrible plans for us all. But fortunately, the world is a large place filled with dynamic, action-oriented people. Many of them can be found on the internet. I'm happy to be part of the opposition to elite plans and the UN machinations. Despite my horror at what they have in mind, I have no fear of them. I don't believe they are winning. I see signs of desperation in their grotesque announcements. Secrecy is a large part of elite control, and they've absolutely fumbled it away in the 21st century. Their malevolent plans are well known. In fact, for the second straight year, I'll be going to infiltrate and expose the Bilderberg Conference, this time to be held in Dresden, Germany in June. You can find out more about it on Facebook at Protest Bilderberg. I'm hoping thousands of others will join us, many in Guy Fawkes masks, as we let them know we are aware of their plans and that they are being carefully watched. You know who won't be there? The mainstream media. I'll keep exposing what's going on via my analysis of Jubilee 2016 and its Shemitah trends, and I'm very happy that so many of you have chosen to seek us out. I treasure your confidence and will continue to provide unique information and analysis to justify it. You can find all of our best insights in the bi-monthly Dollar Vigilante newsletter and join a community of thousands of awakened, aware individuals across the world. We hope you'll join us.